Welcome to the Phil Taylor Jones Show. We're happy to have you with us to go on this little journey we're going to go on. Today we're going to go back in time to a time where America was really, really cool. Once again, I'm your host, Phil Taylor Jones, and we're very, very happy to have you with us. You know, I was talking with my brother, and I was just saying that, while everybody's in the middle of this election business, and really hoping for their candidate to advance further, and wondering whether or not certain ones are going to run, like Joe Biden, and wondering why others are still there, like Hillary Clinton, and all of this hoo-ya-ya with the current bastard doing crazy things to further destroy the country. It's just maddening. Well, I was thinking back to a kinder, gentler time when house payments were reasonable. I remember, when I was a kid, we had a huge place, and it sat on like 2 acres of land, and the house payment was only like $124 with tax included per month. And then subsequently, my mother and I, we moved to another part of Michigan called Ypsilanti, and you Michiganders out there know of this. We moved to a 2-bedroom apartment, which was really pretty swanky. It was a really nice apartment. All the amenities, on-site laundry, parking, you can have pets, 2-bedroom apartment with a balcony, air conditioning, just the works. And my grandmother would always tease my mother because my mom was paying like $175 a month for that apartment. And you remember I told you that we paid $124 for the house. And so, they would tease each other. My grandfather and I would go and fill up the car, and gas was like anywhere from 6 to 12 cents a gallon. And my grandmother would always tease my grandfather, by saying, well, why don't you fill up the tank? Because he'd always want to put $2 or $3, in the car. Well, at being 6, 8, 12 cents a gallon, $3 worth basically filled it up. So, he would chuck in another $2 to appease my grandmother and fill up the tank. You could go to the grocery store, and my God, if you spent $300 at that time, you had enough food to probably last you for a good 6 months. I mean, things were really, really reasonable. A lot of times, mom stayed home while dad went out and worked. Now, if mom wanted to go out and, seek her own career, that was cool too. But basically, mom stayed home, looked after the kids, which meant that we had a better society because children were actually being brought up properly by their parents. We had just as many guns in the country then as we do now, perhaps not as sophisticated as the assault rifles and things that we have now, but we had plenty of guns in the country. But we had a very different set of values. We had a different society that dictated that you didn't settle things by picking up a gun. You tried to talk it out. Or if it went to extremes, you maybe had some fist fights or what have you, but everything wasn't pick up a gun and blam, blow somebody away. In this time where everybody is so desiring or so wanting of a positive change in the country, they're looking to these political candidates. Well, I guess we've done that systematically every year that there has been a presidential, election. But, I really was thinking the other night, and I said, here I am, a person living in America. Am I filthy rich? No. Am I dirt poor? No. I'm sort of somewhere in the middle of the middle. What is it that these rich people that are aspiring to be presidents, or the president of the United States, what is it that they can do for me, personally, Phil Taylor Jones? Not much, as far as I'm concerned. First of all, most of them are filthy rich people. How in the world can they empathize or sympathize with me when they haven't lived my life? Some of them were born with a silver spoon in their mouths, as the saying goes. Some of them, while maybe not being born into this richness, have acquired it, and have acquired it so much so that they've actually forgotten the common touch. So what can these people really do for you? Are they going to really empathize? Are they really going to sympathize, not having been in a situation? I'd like to see somebody like me run for president. Somebody that doesn't have the wealth or the power. Someone who's really been there scratching and scuffling and surviving, having to really try to make ends meet for their families. Really having to go out and earn a living, not just make snap decisions based on a whim. Where is that presidential candidate? The one who basically could represent me, who would know what to do in office as it pertains to the people, because they are actually one of the people. As far as governments go, the reason this country is in the bad shape it's in right now is because of political muckety-mucks. Screwing up the country, getting in there with their own agendas, be they good or be they horrible. Look at old bastard. They went over there and shot up all those doctors and patients. And did he come on talking about gun control this time or bomb control? No, he stuck this pitiful general up there who's told so many lies or spun it so many different ways you would think you were at a carnival. When somebody slipped up, somebody screwed up, and all those innocent people were killed. The people, the doctors were saying, everybody on all sides knew the coordinates of this hospital. It wasn't some little tiny out of the way shack where they, gave people tetanus shots. It was a pretty big facility. And even after telling the people that you've dropped bombs on the place, stop, they went on for 30 minutes. So, you look at these politicians, they're tripping over each other. They're tripping over their own feet, both here and around the globe. Look at Angela Merkel. She's in terrible hot water now because, one, she screwed up her country. Oh, Frank Holland is on the hot seat now. Why? Because he screwed up his country. And all these other host countries, they're on the hot seat because they've screwed up their country by letting all of these supposed refugees in. People, we can't do this. You can't save the world, especially when the world is so screwed up. Now, we're supposed to have 100,000 or more of them coming over here. And you actually think that these people that are aspiring to be president are going to settle this? There's no way. It's just going to be a worse situation, made even more worse when these people get into office. Like I said, the whole system by which they operate is screwed from Jump Street. You change a president, you change his cabinet, you get a new VP. But you're still fighting the same old turds that you've been fighting 5, 6, maybe 10 presidents back. They're in there with the same crazy ideologies, the same crazy ways of doing things that were there before this new president got there. And you meet at loggerheads. There's a jam. Nothing ever gets done. So, okay, they elect a new person in 2017, or at least 2016. He takes office in 2017. Is it going to be any better? No. Might get worse. But I don't see it getting any better because look at what it's been systematically. Let's go back, say, as far as Kennedy. Has it really gotten any better? I look at some TV shows where they talk about hard times in politics. These shows came on television. One of them I watch is Archie Bunker, All in the Family. Odds, look at this. Yeah, I watched the Meathead. Anyway, they're talking about problems back from 1974 that we're facing today. So has politics gotten any better? No. It's gotten worse. I look at Andy Griffith, some of the things that they were talking about in the 60s. Political things. Have they gotten any better? No, they've gotten worse. So what makes you think that any of these pitiful souls that are running for president now are going to get in there and make it any better? They can't. It's a system of failure from Jump Street. Those times I talked about earlier where things were less expensive. And now they're past Saturn, they're past any of those planets out there, they're past the next galaxy as far as price. Are they going to get any better? No, they're still talking about sending jobs out. I look at this bastard that is the CEO of Nabisco. And I believe that plant was there in Chicago where they make the Oreo cookies. You know, little nice sweet cookies, dark chocolate with the little white stuff in the middle. You know, we dunk them in milk. Good Oreo cookies. We ate them as kids. Probably still do. Well, this worthless piece of feces, trying to be nice, folks. She's making $20 million a year. Now, frankly, I don't know. 22 million?
21.
Oh, 21 million. I stand corrected. $21 million a year. Now, I don't know of any job in the world where the salary should be $21 million. But anyway, $21 million for her to be the CEO of this division of Nabisco. And instead of retrofitting the plant so that it comes up to standard, she wants to outsource those jobs to Mexico, putting countless people out of work and sending an American icon to be made in a foreign country. Now, I might add that, maybe Mexico and the United States ain't on such a good term because, they know that we don't want their people over here, and, it might get a little mad, a little ticked off about that thing. Now, what's the greatest way to kill up a lot of people? Mass production of food. They could slip something in their cookies and, we eat it unsuspectingly and, Americans are dropping like flies. Stupid move all the way around. We pay $20 million, $21 million to this cow to do this? Stupid. Idiotic. I just can't seem to wrap my head around the mentality of people in this country today. I just don't. Slithery Clinton and her romanticized the vision of being president and people flocking to this crook or to this shady character at best. Are you that desperate, America, that you would gravitate to somebody? I know I've said this on other shows and I'm repeating myself, but are you that desperate? If you know a hunk of meat is tainted because it's been sitting up on the counter for about 15 days, so tainted the flies won't even land on it, and you know this, why then would you prepare that for yourself and your family? It's the same thing. You know this woman is shady at best. Oh, don't say she's a crook. Okay. I'll play along. Maybe she isn't a crook. I found that hard to swallow. But okay, let's just say she's shady at best. Number one, if a person is shady or has somewhat of a checkered past, they should not be able to run for the president of the United States, first of all. And having said that, I'll end it there. People couldn't gravitate to her if she wasn't a political candidate. How desperate is this government to even allow somebody like that to run? I wouldn't do it. As I said before on other shows, that running for middle school student body president has more requirements that a candidate must meet than does the president of the United States. What does she have to out and out kill somebody and have a smoking gun in her hand before you say, no, she shouldn't be a presidential candidate? And there have been bodies attributed to the Clintons that have stacked up, you know. But yet people, during the shooting, oh, well, what did Hillary Clinton say about the shooting? Who cares? The woman is shady. I wouldn't believe that if she told me tomorrow was Friday and the taping of this show is Thursday. I would believe it because she's shady. But people just gravitate to her. And could you imagine having her in as president? Good Lord. I mean, the place is screwed up. It's bad enough as it is. And to put something like her in there? God, you know, I'm really having a hard time trying to figure out who I'm voting for in November. I really am. I'm having a very hard time. Number one, I don't have faith in any of them. They're all rich folks. Well, Bernie Sanders claims he's not that rich, but he's, you know, gotten close to 20 some odd $1 million or something to match Slithery Clinton in the presidential race or something. But I mean, you know, all these people are basically rich. They can't empathize with me. They don't know what I'm going through. Probably don't even care. You know, so I need somebody like me in there, some person who understands what general America is going through, not the top 1%, the cream of the crop. What we live on, what we try to scuffle on yearly, they spend it daily, hourly. They spend more money for lunch than half of us make in salary in a month. They just spend it on lunch. You know, so how can somebody like that literally and honestly empathize with people in this country who are financially so beneath them? There's always talk about the middle class. The middle class this. We want to preserve the middle class. The middle class. Well, at least the middle class is in the middle. I'm talking about those people down there that have no class. They never mention homeless people. They never mention those that are less fortunate than the middle class. Los Angeles has declared a state of emergency because we have the dubious honor of being the world's leader, or at least the nation's leader, in homeless people. And when you think of homeless people, some people think about the folks down there on Skid Row, you know, and they're drug addicts, and they're this, and they're nasty people, and with them people near me. That's not necessarily the case when you talk about homeless people. There are homeless people that go out there and bust their humps every day just as hard as you do, working and scuffling, trying to take care of their families. But because of these greedy, unscrupulous landlords, who nobody seems to check their hand, have raised rents, not because they necessarily have to, because they want to, because they are greedy. These poor people cannot afford these rents or these lease payments. So what do? They live in their cars, they live in vehicles, they live with friends, they live with relatives. They do not have a home of their own, therefore they are homeless. And then we do have those people down there that are in dire need of rehabilitation and help because they're drug addicts or they're intoxicated all the time. They need help. But no, they don't get it. Why? Because the government, who basically screws up everything, has their attentions elsewhere, has put their funding elsewhere. In foreigners that shouldn't be here, in refugees that shouldn't be here. When are these governmental mucky mucks going to learn to take care of our people first? I guess they will never learn, because systematically this problem has mushroomed out of control. When I was a kid, not that long ago, I know I joke about my age a lot, but when I was a kid in Michigan in the 60s, yeah, we had one rhino that was, around the neighborhood. You didn't have to step over tent cities everywhere you went. Now, we lived in the suburban part of Michigan, but when we go downtown Detroit, you didn't have to step over people. We were thriving because the politicians back then had at least enough sense to take care of our people first. We made cars in Michigan, all kinds of cars. We made everything in this country, all kinds of everything. Now we don't make too much because they're busy outsourcing it to China. Pardon that helicopter, probably going around looking for some of these crooked foreigners that are creeping about the city. We didn't even have that back then. When you saw a helicopter flying around or heard a helicopter, you really went to the window and looked because you figured there's something really bad happening because you didn't see that. Now you look strange because you don't hear a helicopter. Well, what, did everybody die? The ghetto birds aren't flying. What's up with that? It's a different fabric in this country today. And will we get our country back the way it was? I don't think so. Not in my lifetime. This election business, I take it with a grain of salt. And whoever gets in there, do I think they're gonna catch on like a house on fire? No, not really. I think they're gonna be as slow as a wet wick because it's the nature of the beast. Is it gonna be too much of a departure from a bastard? I really don't think so. I hope that we don't put another muzzy in there, but I don't think these people that are running are muzzies, but our country is in dire need of help. And who can step up to the challenge? I don't know. But like I was saying to my brother, I sure would love to have my country back. I'd like to see it be what it was. All this internet garbage and these cell phones and all this utter crap that has been invented and implemented and all that. I'd love to see it go in a heartbeat if it meant that we could get back to what we were back in the 40s, in the 50s, in the 60s, and the early 70s. After that, everything basically went to hell. It went left. It's gone, and I don't know that we can ever get it back. But I guess we do have our memories, and that's all we've got. Those of you who still have a little joy out there, try to hang on to it, because we live in a sadistic, crazy world where anything could pop. I'm really keeping an eye on this Russia thing. Now China supposedly jumped in the fray. Doesn't look too good. World War III, some are saying, it's not too far out of the loop. And as that old saying goes, I don't know what they'll be using in World War III, but I can tell you what they'll be using in World War IV. Sticks and stones. Because everything else will be totally obliterated. Try to remain happy. Try to remain in somewhat of a joyous condition in this crazy world we live in. We thank you once again for joining us for this edition of the Phil Taylor Jones Show. Take care and stay safe.